All right, so there are expressions of addition by subtraction, which means things get easier the more things you drop. You have subtraction by addition, meaning things get heavier the more things you take on. And then you have addition by addition, meaning life gets more beautiful the more you take on. Where are you, Winston? Where are you? Oh, you're tied around my foot. Okay, we've got Winston on the ground, Pudge in my arm. She's a heavy beast. But we have got updates on the Quebec coronavirus lockdown lawsuits updates. Okay, so I don't want to go through the entire thing because it'll be like I packed my bags in and and we're going to go through A to Z every time we do one of these videos. I'm going to put the dogs down here and we're just going to sit for a bit. We are entering now. It is 1 month of curfew. After like 2 months of shutting down non-essential businesses, we are now February, which is almost a year into this COVID pandemic response. That is Pudge. That's Winston, right over there, right there. Oh, yeah, I can't even see that dog. He's so small. It started off as 2 weeks to flatten the curve, to not overwhelm hospitals, so that we could respond accordingly. It turned into 1 year. It turned into social distancing as a social contract. Then it turned into shutting down non-essential businesses. I've covered it at length, ad nauseum. We've had lawsuits, which I have been covering. We had a lawsuit out of Gatineau, a lawyer suing over certain curfew measures. We had a lawsuit in Montreal of a grouping of small business owners and citizens who are complaining about not just the curfew measures, but rather the general lockdown measures that have been imposed by the government, the response to the curfew at large. We have had updates in a lawsuit that I actually have not covered, and that comes out of the Hasidic Jewish community of Montreal, who filed a lawsuit to declare the lockdown measures or the restrictions of gatherings of a maximum of 10 people per establishment. There was a lawsuit filed on that because the Hasidic community in Outremont, how's it going? Apparently they got some fines because they had more than 10 people gathering per establishment, which violated the rules. Now, they filed a lawsuit. The argument was that they had more than 10 people per establishment, but it should be really 10 people per room because the establishment was big enough that they could have 10 people per room without violating the lockdown protocol, which restricted indoor gatherings. Well, today there was a ruling in that particular case. It is a ruling from a judge, Chantal Massé. Now, we have seen that name of Judge Massé in another lawsuit, which was the one that declared the curfew unconstitutional vis-a-vis homeless people. It was Chantal Massé who declared that order unconstitutional as relates to homeless people because it unfairly targeted homeless people. It was not the minimum restriction necessary to accomplish the goals, and it was deemed to be unconstitutional as relates to homeless people. Chantal Massé. Well, that judge, she rendered a decision in this Hasidic case, which is along the same lines as not deeming these measures to be constitutional. So it's a little complicated because what ended up happening is that these Hasidic communities were gathering not more than 10 people per room, but more than 10 people per establishment. So the building has more than one room, and they were gathering 10 people or less per room, from what I understand, but more than 10 people per building. They got a ticket, and they argued that they had authorization to meet in more than 10 people per room, which would be more than 10 people per establishment. And the government said, no, it's 10 people per establishment, which is based on the building itself. Well, Chantal Massé, the same judge who declared the orders unconstitutional as relates to the homeless people, so you know she has a proclivity to not accepting these arbitrary, seemingly draconian, seemingly untenable measures. We know a proclivity based on a prior decision. She said that this decision actually doesn't make any sense because if hospitals can have more than 10 people per establishment, if other entities and establishments can have more than 10 people per building, then it doesn't make sense that it may be a Hasidic Jewish community in Outremont. It doesn't make sense that they can only be limited to 10 people per building, whereas other buildings can have more than 10 people in them. And so apparently in the court order, it said If each of those rooms or each of those sub-buildings has a door, an entrance to the public, well, then each of those specific rooms can have a maximum of 10 people. So that would be to say that the building itself, if it has more than one door accessing the public, can have more than 10 people in it. And the rationale is that a lot of other organisms, entities, institutions, buildings have more than 10 people in them and are able to operate. And this is like one of those things where, come here, even when there's a loss for the government, there's something of a victory. This is like one of those situations where the government will lose, but there will be something of a victory in that it's going to sow some form of social discord, in that people are now going to think that the Montreal Jews have special exceptions. They've been exempt because of their religious institution, their religious pull, whatever. People are going to think, I've lost a dog. No, she's right there. People are going to think that the Jews of Montreal are getting special exceptions, when actually, in reality, all that they are asking for and all that they've gotten from this judge, Chantal Massé, is equal treatment compared to Walmart, Pharmaprix, IGA, institutions and entities where you can have more than 10 people in one building without getting fined and without getting shut down. But people are going to say, well, this is going to sow discord, because now we're going to look at an identifiable minority group and say they're getting special treatment, when actually all that they're getting is equal treatment that other institutions have been getting under these, call them arbitrary for lack of a better word, rules. No one has ever seen Pudge bark on camera. And he just peed. This is, hold on a second. This requires, I hope I have a biscuit. This might be among the most nauseating. I got a little cookie. Good boy. You peed outside. That's as much as we ever need. It's been 3 days now, or 3 days, 2 nights that we've had this dog. That's his second pee outside. So it's an amazing thing now. We've seen a judge now come down on 2 separate occasions to say that these measures are not logical. They're not being applied fairly. Not a question of creating exemptions for religious entities. They're not being applied fairly to religious entities. And this is going to be the second negative judgment that these orders are going to have gotten in as many weeks. And where does it leave us? Where it leaves us is, when you think your rights are being violated, petition the courts. And eventually, over time, you may actually end up falling in front of a judge who's going to look at it objectively and say, if Walmart, if Pharmaprix, if other entities can have more than 10 people in the establishment, there's no reason why Hasidic Jews cannot also have 10 people per room, and more than that per establishment if each of those sub-establishments have a door to the street. And incidentally, in the judgment, the judge said this is not about Hasidic Jews per se. This is about all religious entities, religious institutions. This is about all businesses. This is about applying a rule in a manner that is consistent and logical in as much as there can be. So that's it. That's an update. That is actually a positive update. That, who knows, maybe we are entering the realm of the courts coming down on the governments. Oh, and if I may end with a parenthesis of frustration, François Legault has been on a tear on Twitter of tweeting sporting events. The other day he tweeted, "Wow, what a goal," to a Montreal Canadiens hockey team. After having tweeted, "We're all on the same team," even though quite literally some of us on this team can't play hockey after 8 o'clock without risking a fine of $1,000 to $6,000. Some of us on this team can't actually leave our houses after 8 o'clock. Oh, but we're all on the same team. And François Legault tweets, "Wow," like a man of the people is now tweeting sporting events as if to say, you can't play hockey, but at the very least you can watch hockey. And I made as a joke, it's the modern day equivalent of when the peasants were saying, "We have no bread to eat," and Marie Antoinette said, "We'll let them eat cake." I still don't know if she meant it ironically or sarcastically, but this is literally the modern version of the people are locked in their homes, out of work, draconian curfew lockdown measures. They can't actually play hockey, But then we have our leaders tweeting, well, let them watch hockey then. Not to mention how much it might have cost. I don't know if that particular ad was a sponsorship or something of a collab between the Montreal Canadiens and the lowly citizenry. But all that to say, François Legault now, after what's going to be 2 negative judgments that are declaring these lockdown orders, for lack of a better word, and I'm not sure if I'm paraphrasing, but illegal at the very least, unconstitutional. We've got François Legault tweeting sporting events. Look, I'm a man of the people still. I'm still one of you. Tucka, tucka, tucka. This is like Steve Buscemi saying, hello, fellow teenagers, carrying a skateboard when the dude's 47 years old. A man of the people tweeting out the sports while literally the province suffocates. Oh, that was the other great thing. He tweeted out earlier today a windmill project in the Northlands of Quebec. It's going to go through. It's going to create 300 jobs. Quebec has lost 190,000 jobs due to these COVID measures. Can you imagine the level of detachedness it takes for a premier, not prime minister, to tweet, my program has created 300 jobs after my policies created 200,000 losses of jobs. Self-awareness is a very invaluable tool. I think I might be about to get hit by a car. That's the update, people. That is the update. It's material. It's legal. It is Viva, Pudge, and Winston on the street. Peace out. Be well. Stay safe. Stay sane. Stay healthy. Vitamin C, vitamin D, exercise, fresh air, and dogs certainly help with that. What do you say? What do you say? Yeah, we're all tangled up here. Oh, gosh.